Hey, shalom, shalom, halayla tawab, which is good night. Anak nawaha ay bar yasha'alay with the Hebrew Israelites coming to you week in and week out through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, to preach to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indian Haitians, and Israelite foreigners. Chamatam, Kaya, Hamalak, Wathashamayim, Kwara, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. First and foremost, before we get started, we're going to say, Kah Halayim La, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah, Bahasham, Rachah HaKodash. A double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us the truth and rule well. Much respect to you, bros, out there pushing the truth with all righteousness and sincerity. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
All right, so essentially, it's another edition of Hadabar Shah Hayawan, which is the word of the day, or more specifically, it will be Ibaria Shah Hayawan, which is Hebrew for the day, because we're going into the number 20, which that word goes into Isharyam, which is 20, which means 2 tens. So before we get started, could we go ahead and go into the blue letter, Baba Kushah?
Khan.
And we just type in the number 10.
Genesis 5:14 we found.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right there. And it says Ishar, which when you go into Ishar, it just means 10, a tenth or a tithe. And it says 10 with other numbers. Could you go into the root word, Baba Kushah? Oh, right there. Scroll back up, Baba Kushah. Or down. Right there it said, keep going. Keep going. Right there it says masculine term Ishara. It says 10 as an accumulation to the extent of the digits, because you got 10 fingers, So the 10 fingers, you got 20. 20 is Ishar Yam. All right. And those 20, it will be known as Ishar Yam, you see, because the symbol for 20 in Hebrew is a ka, and the word for ka would be kap, and when you go into the 20 digits on your fingers, they all bend, when you go into kap, they bow, your fingers bow, your toes bow, they all curve, they bow to you, they bow to the one that's speaking, or the one that's in command, and your body will be the one that's in command, or the brain will be the one that's in command,
Mm-hmm.
So from there, could we get could you go to the definition for cap, Baba Kushah?
Khan. The etymology? Oh, definition. Salakia.
Definition. And it says a head covering, especially with a visor and no brim. It says distinctive head covering, emblematic of a position or office, such as a natural cover or top. It says such as overlying rock layer that is usually hard to penetrate. So Yahweh Shah will be a covering. That you can find Ka and Kawakab star. The scriptures call him the star of Ya'iqab, Jacob, roughly paraphrasing. But when you go into a cap, a cap that ultimately derives from kap in Hebrew, which could we go back to that it was the word document.
Khan.
And it says 20 Aishar Yam, and it says symbol Ka. The word that goes with it is kap, and it says kap is the palm bends, curves, or bows, and it says pa to speak, because with your palms, your palms essentially show who you are. They speak, they command who you are. That's why a lot of times Esau, when he's doing research and stuff like that, or if he's like going to like a crime scene, he'll get the fingerprints, because essentially your handprints when you're a baby, he makes you get handprints and fingerprints, footprints too, because your toes and the palms of your feet, and the palms of your hands, they speak, But then it says palm speaks. It says kop, power, command, power to command. So a lot of times, reason why that a cap derives from cop is because those that have a cap on, like a state trooper, they have the power to command. Gad back in the day, Gad would wear that big headdress, and he had the power to command.
Mm-hmm.
So without going any further, could we get Matthew chapter 12 and verse 29, Baba Kushah?
Khan. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 12, and verse 29, and it reads, Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he bind the strong man, and then he spoil the house or his house? Salakia.
Right. So essentially, strong man is the one that can essentially have the power to command. And those that have the power to command, in Esau's society, will be his different officers, military, law enforcement, and the ABC branches or
Hmm.
agencies. But Esau essentially studied things from the scriptures. He applied them to his society. But just going into this verse, it says, "How or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house." So essentially, Esau took the one that had the power to command. The cop. Captain comes from cop. Because essentially the man had the power to command. And who essentially will be that chief cap. Could you go to Hebrews chapter 2 and 9, Baba Kusha?
Khan. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter two and verse 9. It reads, "For for it became him for whom are all things."
Verse 9, Baba Kusha.
Oh, Salakia, verse 9. Hebrews 2 and 9 says, "But we see Yahushua, who was made a little tower than the angels for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he, by the grace of the Most High, should taste death for every man." Let me continue reading.
Come on, you go to verse 10.
Okay, God. Verse 10 it reads, "For it became him for whom are all things, and by him, and by whom are all things,
Right, because
and
you go to
through
Colossians, the first chapter, it talks about how all things consist by Yahweh Shah.
God." When we just start at the top,
It's at verse 17.
Colossians 1:17. Let me see. Oh, yep. When we start at 16,
Yeah, Baba Kusha.
this is Colossians 1 and verse 16. It reads, "For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible,
Mm-hmm.
whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him,
Right.
and he is before all things, and by him all things consist."
Right. All things consist. All things keep going. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the precept we just got, it was could you go back to it, Baba Kusha? It was Hebrews 2 and 10.
Khan.
It says for
Salakia.
you good. It says, "For it became him for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, and bringing many sons unto glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings." Baba Kushak, could we get that in the NLT?
Khan. This is the book of Hebrews 2 and verse 10 in the NLT. It says, "The Most High, for whom and through whom everything was made, chose to bring many children into glory, and it was only right that he should make Yahushua, through his suffering, a perfect leader,
Mm-hmm.
fit to bring them into their salvation."
Right. He's the one that has the power to command. If I pick something up, all right, it's in the power of my palm. It's in the
Mm-hmm.
palm of my hand. It's in my power. He's the one that has the power to command. That's why when you went back to the KJV, it said captain. Because he ultimately is the one that has the power to command. And that was the position given to him by the Most High Yahweh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a precept that talks about how he had preeminence.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was in Colossians. Yeah, that was in Colossians. May I get it real quick?
Kai, you got it.
Oh, damn. Let me just go back. Colossians 1 and verse 18. Get it real quick. It says, "And he is the head of the body, the church." Hey, going back to the cap, right? The head.
Mm-hmm.
Yahushua is the head of the body, the
Yep.
church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that
Mm-hmm.
in all things he might have preeminence. I want
Right,
to get
because
to the
he,
word. You
if
go
I can
ahead.
mention, pretty much it said preeminence. Preeminence goes into superiority, but then it said who is
Mm-hmm.
the beginning. In Hebrew, Genesis, in the beginning, Ra'ash, Bara'ashith, the head, just, laying back off your point.
Mm-hmm. Khan. Hey, but the word preeminence goes back to Strong's G4409, and it says to be first, hold the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It says to be first in rank or influence. Let me see what else it says. That's pretty much it.
Khan. Could we get Job 9:24, Baba Kusha?
Khan. This is the book of Job, chapter 9, and verse 24. It reads, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He
Mm-hmm.
covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
Right, so the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, pretty much the hand, like your literal hand. Your hand consists of a palm. So if you're in the hand or the palm of the wicked, essentially that's in the wicked's power, so he had the power to cover the faces of the judges thereof, iconoclasm, in the Renaissance. It says, if not, where and who is he? If it was not Esau, the so-called white man, who would it be? Because who did these things in iconoclasm? Who did these things in the Renaissance?
Mhm.
The scriptures say that pretty much he'll roughly paraphrase, he'll be locked away for a little while and then he's going to come back for a little season. We're in that little
Right.
season.
Khan.
Could we get Micah chapter 2 and verse 1?
This is the book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand.
Right. It's in the power of their hand. It's in their palm. The power of your hand will be your palm. Esau right now has the power to command. He's the one on the left-hand side calling the shots. Which the scriptures say, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. The Lord's going to come back and remove this devil, but as it stands, due to prophecy, we're under the rulership of this devil, so that's why the scriptures say we got to wait upon the Lord. We're not to take up, carnal means. We got to tap into the spirit, because ultimately this devil is carnal, and our power is spiritual,
Right.
so.
Khan.
From that, I want to read this. It says cop. It says which cop that goes into something that's bent. Your palm is bent. It scoops. So it says cop and feet and toes. These are the ones that curve and submit to the will of the head. Because if you were to turn your hands like this, they would submit to your head. And it says, and speak for the body, footprints and handprints. And it's spiritual. Because the scriptures say in Romans 8:16, the spirit beareth witness that we are the children of the Most High, roughly paraphrasing. So Jake be like, okay, well, I'm 10 toes about mine. That go back to the scriptures. Could we go back to that number 10, Baba Kushah?
Khan.
It says 10, Ishar, and it says experience pressure to the head. Experience pressure to the head. And I want to make a point with this. Could you get it in the blue letter?
Khan.
And you go to the root word.
Khan.
And it says tithe, give a 10th part. Could you go to the root word?
Oh, okay, Khan.
Yeah, right there. And it says to be or become rich or wealthy. In rich, you scroll down a little bit, Baba Kushah.
Mm-hmm.
And it says to accumulate, to grow. Can you scroll into the lexicon? And it says to be straight. Jake be like, hey, you good? You straight? Like that. They go back to the scriptures. It says to prosper, to be happy, to be rich. It says to build up. You got 10 fingers. Ishar, those build up a house. Just like it says to erect. Your feet build up the rest of the body. You experience pressure to the head from the feet. That's why. Could you go to where it says something about, it was like a website with UK on it, like 10 reasons or something.
Let's see. You talking about this one?
Yeah, that one. You scroll up to the top, number 3.
Hold on. Number 3.
Right there. It says poor posture. It says poor posture causes tension in your upper back, neck, and shoulders, which can lead to a headache. So It says typically the pain throbs in the base of the skull and sometimes flashes into the face, especially the forehead. How to fix it: avoid sitting and standing in one spot position for long periods. Sit up straight, support your lower back. And how do you do this? You use your toes. Your toes, they grip the floor and you're able to stand up straight, with the palms of your feet, because it's not actually called soles, it will actually be called palms in Hebrew. So from there, could we get First Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 21 to 23?
John, this is First Corinthians chapter 12, verse 21, and it reads.
Could you could you pull it up in the what you call it?
Oh, the NLT.
No, on the screen.
Oh, Salakia. I thought I did.
Yep.
God, this is 1 Corinthians 12 and verse 21, and it says, and the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of thee, nor again the head to the feet, I have no need of you. It says, nay, much more those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary.
Right. So if you got your eyebrows, you got your fingernail, you got a pinky. It may seem as if you don't have a job, or you got your pinky toe or your big toe. It may seem like you don't have a big job, but you got 10 toes, because 10 goes into perfection. It was a perfect amount of toes to support the weight of the whole body. That's an important job, So that's why it says, which seem to be more feeble are necessary. It's necessary because without it, you would have like knee problems, hip problems. It can lead up into your head. You have headaches. You can't survive like that,
Mm-hmm.
And it says, can I finish it out? Or
you got it. You got it.
23, it says, and those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor, and our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness. You see, so when you think about the body parts that you feel like as if you don't need them, you actually need them, because they are there for their purpose. They're there for their job. Just like that's ascribed to the body. That's how the spiritual body, that we're building this third spiritual temple, so just like those that it seems that they don't have a major position. Everybody position is important. Everybody position is necessary. Everybody can't be the floor or the window. Everybody can't be the the baseboards.
Right. The pillars, right?
Right.
Keep the building structurally sound. The roof, the walls. Each individual piece of the building has its own purpose. And as long as everything is holding to its purpose, the whole building can function, right?
Right.
If you have the like, for example, right here in 1 Corinthians 12, right? You have the eye or the hand that wants to do its own thing and doesn't want to submit to the will of the head, which to be Yahweh Shai in this case. Hey, eventually there's gonna be no use for you. The whole body ain't gonna function properly. But yeah, I just wanted to add that in there. You got it.
And then like with Esau science, like one of the eyes, the eye not doing this job, the eye get cast out, they get a new eye. You know what I'm saying?
Con.
So from there, could we get Numbers chapter 1 and verse 2?
Con.
Actually, no. Could we get Malachi 3 and 10?
Con. This is the book of Malachi, chapter 3 and verse 10, and it reads, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith Yahweh of hosts, if I will now open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it.
Can we get an NLT?
Con. This is Malachi 3 and 10 in the NLT. It reads, bring all the tithes into the storehouses, or into the storehouse, so there will be enough food in my temple. If ye do, saith Yahweh of heaven's armies, I will open the windows of heaven for you. I will pour out a blessing so great you won't have enough room to take it in. Try it. Put me to the test.
Right. So essentially, what tithes do is it supplies what's necessary for the Lord's house. It essentially tithes go to building up the Lord's house. And which in this
Mhm.
verse it says that it may be enough food. So like pretty much having everything, essentially food being a part of what was inside the temple. So pretty much building it up, and that's what the tenth part would do. But then you see also your hands, they build the temple. So
Mhm.
it all ties back to the spirit. So that's why that's why pretty much your hands erect things, just like your feet erect the rest of the body. It allows it to stand up, and that's why Ishar goes into the to experience pressure to the head, because when you're building a building, you also be building it up to the head until you finish at the top. But you got two sets of 10, 20. You got 20 feet and toes respectively together. You know, I just want
Mhm.
to go into that. Could we get let me see. Could you go to Numbers chapter 1 and verse 2?
This is the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 2. It reads, "From the whole community of Israel, record the names of all the warriors by their clans and families. List all the men."
KJV.
Oh, yeah, Salaki. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 2. It reads, "Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, after their families, by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls,
hmm
from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel. Thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies."
Right. So 20 ka, that's the number that was sufficient for the Lord, to give for a man to have power, to go into war. Because 20, that goes into your palm, that goes into your hands. So you can use your hands, you can use the power of your hands to go and fight at the age of 20, which is spiritual. That 20 is also ka. It's also ka. That's a symbol for ka, because you can use your power in warfare, to fight for the country.
Mhm.
So from there, could you go to the article? Could you get Psalm 64 and 6?
This is the book of Psalms 64 and verse 6. It reads, "They search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep."
Where they accomplish a diligent search. Esau does his research. He goes to these ancient societies, but then also he taps into the Hebrew, he taps into the scriptures, and applies different concepts to work for his enterprise. And an
Mhm.
example of that we'll get inside the article with it was something about state troopers I had sent you.
Let me see. This one right here.
Yep. You scroll down just a little bit. Keep going. Right there it says design and symbolism. It says the symbolism of the campaign hat varies depending on the contest in which it is worn. In the military, the hat represents the authority and leadership of the wearer, particularly in roles such as drill sergeant or drill instructor. The high, stiff crown of the hat is designed to draw attention to the wearer and convey a sense of discipline and control. It says in law enforcement, the campaign hat is also a symbol of authority and professionalism. It is often worn by police officers, state troopers, and federal agents during ceremonial events and parades. So when you think about a cop, all right, it's your palm, but it represents control. Capture, a captor. Essentially, is going into seizing. That's why they used to call cops, because you're using your hands, your palms to capture somebody. But when you actually apply that concept to the head with a cap, they pretty much got that from the scriptures, because that shows that you have the power to command, and it leads off a vibration. Just that's why Gad did what he did with the bonnet. Then they had like a little merit system. They'd be like, okay, well, if if another Gadite tribe seen it, they'd be like, all right, well, in order to get so many feathers, they'd be like, all right, you got to skin a man, or you got to go capture a horse, or this or that. So you would have chieftains with big war bonnets, and people
Mhm.
would see that and be like that. They'd be like, oh, that's power. You got the power to command. So it gave off a sense of authority. You know.
Mhm.
So
Con.
to get
It's pretty much your stripes.
yeah, right.
pretty much your stripes. You know what you did. You know um your I guess in a sense I can't think of the correct word, but like your accolades. You know what you did.
Right. And which it all goes back to, we're living out we're living out the physical and the spiritual, or we're living out the spiritual and the physical. It's all intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
So could we get Revelation chapter 6, or actually, yeah, let me get Revelation 6:4, and then Micah 2:10, and we'll go back to Gad.
Con. This is Revelation chapter 6 and verse 4, and it reads, "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth,
Mhm.
and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword."
Right. It says, and there went out another horse, horse going to power that was red. Red talking about Esau, all right, the so-called white man. And it says, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. All right. He do this in his different agencies, the military, law enforcement. They got all these different types of policies. The military works as the police of the world, so to speak, to where they're taking peace from the earth. All right. The police the neighborhoods where they're taking peace from those specific neighborhoods because they set up different traps and stuff for Jake, But it says to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. You see, and Christopher Columbus said something one time. He said, hey, he couldn't put his sword down. And
Right.
that shows the nature, of the so-called white man. They can't put that sword down. That's that great sword, and they pretty much uphold that. And you have different variations of the sword. It's just a killing instrument.
Right. Because by the sword, he was able to, command. He was able to gain that power
Yep.
that he has pride on.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he prides himself in the sword. He prides himself in the nuclear weapon, his arsenal, his guns, his advancements in technology. That's the
Right.
reason why he has so much pride. That he feels like he's going to be able to even come up against Yahweh Shah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Can we get you got something else?
Allah.
Could you get Micah 2 and verse 2?
This is the book of Micah. You said 2 and 2, right?
Yep.
Yep, I see it. It says, Micah 2 and 2, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage.
Right, because Esau right now, he's in that position. The scriptures say, I believe it's in Isaiah the 10th chapter and the 5th verse. That Assyrian
Rod of
talk
my
about,
anger.
yeah, the rod of my anger, because pretty much that's the position that the Lord gave him. Hey, so he has the power right now to command. He can say, hey, you're not a so-called you're not a Israelite. You're black. You're Hispanic. You're a Native American. You're an Indian. He can say that. And people take it a certain kind of way because that's what they see on the carnal side of it. But little do they know. We go back to the line of our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So he's able to oppress a man in his house and a man in his heritage. Because it's in the power of the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. We're in the power of his hand. Scriptures say that he refused to let us go. Roughly paraphrasing.
Right. Right. There was one verse in the scriptures where it says, where he mentions that these two nations shall be mine.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much just took us,
Right.
by force. Like the scripture says, the violent take it by violence.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what he did. He took us by violence. He took the land by violence. Everything this man owns, he has taken it by the sword through violence, man.
Right.
And
Could we
that was the power that he was given. You got it, Doc.
Could we get Hosea 4 and 6?
Khan. Hosea 4 and verse 6, and it reads, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of the Most High, I will also forget thy children."
All right, so we're destroyed. Going back into how Esau can oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage. Because we're in the power of his hand. And then we're going to abide that way until the Lord comes back. Until the Lord comes back and redeems us. So
Right.
from there, could we?
May I add a little bit into this?
Yeah.
Because what we're going into is words, right? The meaning of words, and these are words that these are our words. The Hebrew Lashon Kodash, that's our language. And the meanings and and the deep breakdowns on it, that used to be ours.
Bro.
But now, hey, the Most High stripped us away from all that, which is why Jacobs are destroyed, man. Jacobs destroyed left and right. They don't know how to call upon the Lord. They don't know the truth because as we're going into, as we've been going into, me and the brother Yawam, right? We've been going into how language is power. Pretty much, there's power in your tongue.
Bro.
What comes out of you manifests into reality, right? Esau knows that these vibrations that come from these words have power in it, which is why he uses them in this left hand type of way. But you got it up, Salakia.
Con, could we get you good? Could we get the article with Gad?
Uh, oh, okay, yeah, I see it. The headdress. I don't know why it's like this.
It's all good. I can read it from the top. It says you scroll up just a little bit. Oh yeah, okay.
It's a little bit smaller. I don't know if you can still. Is that good?
Yeah, it says the stereotypical image of American Indian is of an imposing Native man wearing a feathered headdress or war bonnet. This is how Native Americans have been long depicted in movies, television, and non-native artworks. And the idea that all or even most American Indians wore these war bonnets is inaccurate. Contrary to popular belief, the full feathered war bonnet headdress was not worn at all by most tribes, though it was authentic to a few. There are several types of headgear that were traditionally worn by numerous tribal nations. Almost every tribal nation in North America and slot, almost every tribal nation in North America wore some form of headdress. The purpose of this headgear was manifold: to intimidate the enemy during battle, ceremonial purposes, for protection from the elements, to depict status within the tribe. So that's why when you go into, I mean, even with what was his name, Alexander the Creep, he had like
Mm-hmm.
that. He had like some type of leopard hat. Like when
Mm-hmm.
you wore, we saw that in 300. A lot of times the king he wore some type of ranking insignia was the hat. Because the hat, whoever wore the cap, that's the one that got the power to command. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why it says to intimidate the enemy during battle. So could we get Deuteronomy 33:20, Baba Kusha? Because then
Uh,
also I read another article. It said show seriousness, and Gad also wore them because of power, authority, and leadership. Which again, this goes back to the word for cap. Because it has the power to command. The person that wears the cap.
Salakia. Keep on spelling it wrong. But this is Deuteronomy 33 and verse 20, and it reads, "And of Gad he said, Blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He
Mm-hmm.
dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head."
Right. So it says, and of Gad, he said, "Blessed be he that enlargeth Gad," because when you look at Gad, Gad had the land from Canada down to what they call so-called United States, and it says which I believe they called it Turtle Island, and it says he dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head. Which the Lord enlarged Gad. Gad got all of that land, which Gad or will be God, Baha Lashon Kwadash, in the Holy Tongue. So it will be God, but his name ultimately goes into fortunate as well. His
Mm-hmm.
name goes into fortunate, and also essentially Gad was nomadic. So they had all that land. According to Esau's article that we just got, went into pretty much how some of the tribes were the bonnet. But Gad is known about wearing that war bonnet. That's why it says,
Mm-hmm.
and teareth the arm with the crown of the head. What was on the crown of the head? It was going into that headdress. You know, the headdress pretty much, it was a ranking insignia. It showed authority and control. Which Gad did have authority and control. The only reason that Gad went down was because Esau came out with that Gatling gun. And it was the Lord's will that Gad had went down, because Gad also goes into a troop, which it's ironic that Gad was overcame by a troop. But the
Right.
scriptures say that he shall overcome at the last. Because what Esau has done, he's made Gad a laughing stock. To where it's like, okay, he took his war tactics, and he
Mm-hmm.
took his idea of a cap. You know,
Mm-hmm.
which that goes back to, you know, that goes back to Gad, you know, but ultimately that's why Scripture say he shall overcome at the last, roughly paraphrasing, you know.
Right. You know, essentially the Most High made all Israel laughing stock.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You have that scripture that says, "Is this the perfection of beauty?" Something like that, something along those lines. Speaking about Jake, right? And but nowadays, all the nations, you know, like the scripture says, you know, they wag their head. You know, they shake their
Mm-hmm.
head when you look upon Jake. You know, Jake is a laughing stock. Jake has been put down. But just to add what the brother was saying about Gad, you know, hey, Gad was very they were warriors, man.
Mm-hmm.
There were some in some skirmishes or battles, you know, they were beating Esau's ass. Like the
Right.
brother said, you know, Esau had the advantage because he had the sword, the power of the sword. You know, came out with that Gatling gun and started, you know, just mowing down Jake.
Right.
All had to do with prophecy. You got it, Doc.
Con, it's my last one. Could we get Ezekiel chapter 28 and verse 3?
Khan. This is the book of Ezekiel 28 and verse 3. It reads, "But thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee."
Right, and that's ascribed to Esau Edom. You know, thou art
Mhm.
wiser than Daniel. Hey, this man has done his research. He studied. He doesn't have the spirit, you know, but the Lord has given him a certain amount of knowledge to where he can apply different concepts. You know, that he can apply the alphabets, things that happen in the scriptures, things that happen in different societies, to where it can work in his benefit. You see, but it's no longer working for his benefit. You know, because we're in a time to where the Lord is exposing this devil. You know, he's taking him down. You know.
Mhm.
But that's
Mhm.
pretty much all I had. If you ain't had nothing, bro.
Let me see. I had one precept.
How you good?
Trying to see if I can find it real quick. This is Proverbs 50 and verse 21. It says, "These things thou hast."
Psalms.
Oh, Salakia. Psalms 50 and 21. "These things hast thou done, and not kept silence. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes." So now, as the brother was going into, you know, now Esau is his time to come down, right? The Most High set bounds upon this man to where, you know, he's reaching those boundaries now, which is why now he's being exposed on a massive level. You know, his enchantments ain't working. You know, him calling upon these demons. You know, he's trying to take things to another level, but he knows it ain't working for him. You know, this man's fumbling. This man is moving in haste
Mm-hmm.
because he knows his time is up, man. His kingdom ain't gonna last much longer. And he knows it, which is why he's gonna come down with great wrath, right? But that was pretty much all I had, Doc.
Khan, La Marshana, to say again, Bahalashon Kwadash, you know, the holy tongue. Again, the Iboria Shah Hayawam, Hebrew of the day, was the number 20, Ishar Yam, which is 20, which essentially just goes into two tens. And the word that is tied to it is kop, which means to be bent. You know, the palm speaks, you know, so Adawan Tazaza Banaya Palos, what does a beautiful edification to the spirit. While Adawan Taza Adam Yashla Yalaila Tawab Salak. Hey, Lord's will, you'll have a good day or a good night. While we can go ahead and close it up and saying, Carl Light Law, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah Bahasham, Chah a double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us truth and rule well. And much respect to you, bros, out there pushing the truth with all righteousness and sincere. Shalom, shalom. Layla Tawab, shalom.
Shalom.